Yeah, I think we can start. So welcome everybody to the TST meeting on October 22nd, 2024. Keep in mind that this meeting is recorded and will be published. And it will be accessible via this meeting minutes, VOLTHA TST meeting minutes. So again, Jan, let's start with you. What's this week's progress? And you have action items from the previous meetings, like syncing up on VPN, and I think you were going to sync with Eric on hosting some documents from this page and also Netbox on some
Exactly.
servers.
Yeah. So I prepared a presentation. Maybe I can share my screen and then we can go through that, and then all the other points maybe after.
Sure. Go ahead, please.
You need to stop.
Yeah, stop.
Perfect. So let me choose. You can see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so I tried to put together like a status update, and I'll keep updating.
Hello.
I think we lost Jan.
Yes. Okay. I thought I dropped, but
yeah, I also thought that, so I was waiting for another voice.
let's wait a few minutes for Jan to connect back. Seems that this will take some time, so I'm going to share my screen and go through the other items until Jan. Yes, there was an item on me to prepare a document, a checklist for accept the BISTS works. So I prepared the document and put a link here, but it's better to wait for Jan and go through this when he's here. So the next item about the VOLTHA release 2.13 preparations, I'm keeping this here to check in the mid-November on the hardware test if we can, you know, wait for hardware tests or not for releasing at the end of the year. Is Ablash here on the call? So he's not. So he sent me a message and indicate that he cannot join the meeting probably, but he has an update about the test suites. He was looking. So he said that they found the problem on these two Jenkins jobs and they prepared the fix. Now they're looking how to run this test manually. I'll be talking with Abhilash offline on how to run this test manually, and they will test the jobs with the edits they have done. So I see that Yan is still flying. Okay. So that was two proposals from Abhilash in the previous meeting. So I wanted to check on the if there are any upstream patches or not. But I think, as I said, Abhilash isn't here, and anybody from Redis is also on the call to give us an update on that. The last item on my agenda is about the Jenkins jobs again we have. So when I checked the Jenkins test pipelines, yesterday I saw that there are some errors on all of the jobs, and it's about some kind of certificates that are expired on charts open courts. Orgs.
Yeah, actually, that should be fixed now.
Okay, good then.
Yeah, we found, I think John actually reported that to our help desk.
Okay.
But yeah, a few days ago we had to renew the certificate for that. So
Okay, good.
hopefully they're good to go now.
Yeah, I see the test today started to turn green. Okay, cool.
Hmm.
Good then. Let's go through this checklist that I prepared, checklist page. So I prepared the page under the community lab. In this, there is a table that you can see the items that needs to be done by BIS then to fix the problems in the community lab. And these are the items from the offer, and the items ID on the offer are also here, and some information about the status of the item, the owner, if we have deliverables for this, and the acceptance state. So when we, the jobs that are done demonstrated to us, we will update these acceptance fields and turn them to accepted and put the deliverables accordingly. I will request from Yan to update the end dates because there are some end dates in the offer, but because they started like a month later than the planned date, this date needs to be updated by Yan. So
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Yan, I can.
Hi.
Nice
Yeah.
to
Sorry,
hear you.
somebody killed our internet connection here in the office. So
Oh.
I'm now here by phone. I don't know who did that, but yeah. So let's see if somebody brings it back as well.
Okay, let me go through this item, then we'll hand over to you, back to you again, and you can, give us the status again.
Yep.
So there was an item only in the previous meeting. So it was, preparing a checklist from the offer and putting them on a table so that on that table we can, check the progress and, update the acceptance fields and if it's accepted or not, and if there are some deliverables that, for each item. So I put a table on this page under the community labs. So the items with their item IDs are in this table now, and their statuses. You can update the status as you go through the items, and I would ask you to put an end date to these items because the end dates on the state of the offer, I think because you started a bit late, you may want to update this end date. And through the work, if we have deliverables, we can put them on this table, and when they are accepted, we will, the TST will change this acceptance field to the accepted. So the details of the offer and the acceptance criteria all are in this document here, the content document. So it's a Google Docs, and it has the details of the offer and the acceptance criteria, etc. So there's another link, but this is actually the original link of this table. So it's kind of a fancier table, but I then decided to put it here to access it easier. So I'll remove this link here, and this will be the only source for us. Yeah, that's it, and stage is yours again.
Yeah, so sadly I can't really present anything from my phone.
Oh,
but I can go through what I've written down, and there will just be no presentation. So what do we have? Maybe to quickly jump on this part of the end dates in this table. We need to check if it's actually possible to fill in those dates, because we now figured out that there's quite a lot of dependencies directly with the Linux Foundation where we are creating tickets, right? And then we're waiting for the other side with the tickets replying. And I mean, that is working well. But since there is an external dependency, which we really can't control, it's quite hard to put certain end dates to certain things, because we have already in the last 2 weeks seen there's a bunch of things here and there where we, for example, can't test the pipelines because certificate is expired, and then we wait for a couple of days until certificates comes back or stuff like that. Or we need to check the AWS connectivity, and since we don't have access to AWS, we can't do that. So yeah, let's see. But we can definitely try to come up with some general timelines of when we think things should be done, and then on a weekly basis we can probably update that. But
that would be good, because we need some ballpark estimations to know when this will be finished, if everything goes perfect, fine. So because we will decide on mid-November to include the hardware test in the release or not. So these deadlines and this estimated times.
So let me quickly try to
know,
switch to my PC again, because I think somebody repaired the internet. Be back in a second.
Go ahead.
Just ask a quick question. It's Francisco here. Hi, Jan. How are you doing?
I hope I'm back. Am I?
Back. Just a question, really. Do you have a list of such issues that occur from time to time so that we can put the right contacts and it doesn't end up in delay on your side? I mean, waiting 2 days for a certificate doesn't sound very productive.
I think it's not something that we can actually fix at the moment, right? Because like, so the contract that we were hired for is really like this, like reduced, half of the word, please don't touch this stuff. Which, as we talked about in the last like year, basically leads to a bunch of things that are out of our control. And those things are specifically like all of the connectivities, right? Like, for example, if we want to like make pipelines run or check if pipelines actually work, we don't have really access to the Jenkins part, right? Because that's within the Linux Foundation. And if there's any issues in that, like, it's out of our control to fix that. And the same goes for all of the infrastructure there, for all the build pipelines, all this stuff. So I don't think there's a generic thing that we can say right now. We can just try to work together as good as possible and then hope that everything goes well. But I guess that's what we discussed throughout all these things of reducing the scope more and more and more. And that's where we are right now. So
yeah, no, I'm just thinking at the simple level, really. So if having access to Jenkins, whatever the outside world is that is outside of the contract, and it's down to us, we just need to make sure that when something arises, you don't have to wait 2 days for somebody to solve it for you.
Yeah, but as I said, like at the moment, it's working fine, right? So I can write tickets in this like support Linux Foundation.
Okay.
And I think Eric has been doing a great job of like being as quick as possible on that, but there's still like, there's more people behind Eric involved there.
Okay.
So it's really this delay that is generated from Linux Foundation does the one side, we do the other side. We are trying to work together as good as it goes, but like I don't think there's anything else we can do at the moment. Come again?
There is a process in place where you can raise a support ticket and stuff.
Yeah. That's all working fine. I just like that was my comment was really more to the part of like providing end dates for the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard at the moment. We probably need to go through the first couple of steps and then see if we can solve some of those interdependencies, and then hopefully once we've figured out all of the ugly parts at the moment, it should go smooth. Let's see. So I would share my screen again, if that's okay for you.
Yeah, sure.
And then I hope nobody kills the internet. Fingers crossed. I don't know. So you see this milestone thing again?
Yes.
Okay, so milestone 1.1. I try to be quick here. So this is about the connectivity between the lab and the AWS infrastructure. So as said, we replaced the desktop computer with a proper infrastructure server that has been provided by DT. We installed pfSense on top of that as the gateway, because this gateway thing is mostly for NATing, providing external connectivity, doing a bit of firewalling. So all the evil people from the outside world can't access the setup and all this stuff. And since pfSense is the open source solution, I guess, for that is also possible to manage in an easy way, we installed that here. We configured the IPsec tunnels towards AWS. So those are 4 tunnels in total. We configured the BGP sessions through those. So those are responsible for doing the proper routing between the Jenkins, for example, and all the internal stuff within the Berlin lab here. And then we configured OpenVPN tunnels so that external people, mostly technical stuff. At the moment, it's us, but then in the future, there would obviously be people from the Linux Foundation as well, can have access to this infrastructure and work with that. We documented all of those things. Those things are, you can see if I switch the view here, right? Or do you still see the first thing? Yeah, okay. So Eric was so kind to create this community lab Confluence thing here. And under that, we created a bunch of pages for documentation. One of them is the gateway and firewall configuration. So there is a bunch of links here where you can find all of the different pieces that we configured, the IPsec tunnel, BGP, how to change that, stuff like that. Yeah.
Are all these links accessible to everybody, or are there some links
So these
that
links,
limited for?
so obviously the upstream stuff, like the Netgate stuff, so where this general description is accessible to anybody. These things that are within the Berlin lab are only accessible to people that have VPN access there. So, but they're also only useful to them, right? Because this is the actual configuration website.
Okay.
So this documentation is obviously targeting people that are configuring the infrastructure. So it's the documentation for the gateway.
So who are these people that have access to VPN currently? You
So
and
that would
Linux?
be technical stuff at the moment. That is us, but we can add more people from the Linux Foundation there, obviously.
Okay.
I think it will be the Linux Foundation in the end, right? To my understanding, the Linux Foundation will be the one maintaining this setup in the future.
Probably, we will see.
Yeah, okay, but like to my understanding, this should not be like the TST, or I mean, if that's different, please just let me know. I mean, you can just create credentials for other people, but at the moment, this is just about documenting how this whole thing is set up, and then who gets access is something that is should probably be decided by the TST. We can just create more credentials if more people need access.
Okay.
Okay, so I wrote down the acceptance criteria of this SOW. So we established this network connectivity between the lab and the AWS infrastructure. We did all the network configuration, DHCP, VPN, blah, 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 all of this stuff. We tested the IPsec tunnels themselves, so that works. What we can't really test so far is this connection for the CI/CD tools. So it seems that if I understood Eric correctly, Joey had done some configuration with Tailscale from the Jenkins server through the gateway, through some jump server towards the pods. But neither Eric nor I really fully understood why. So we were looking at that and we didn't fully understand like how to configure that. And that's also something that is additionally to the IPsec tunnels. So that's something that we would need to decide how to deal with. If we need Tailscale here, or if we can go with the IPsec tunnels. Maybe to quickly add on this decision part here, the IPsec tunnels allow a general connectivity routed between those two setups, which is relatively easy and makes the whole migration process that we're going for a bit easier, like moving things around. The Tailscale thing involves obviously licensing, closed source software, and more people that understand Tailscale. So we would need to hand that over to somebody else then, because like BSDN does not have any experience here with Tailscale, and since it's closed source software, we can't really look into that at the moment. So we need to figure out what our way forward here is. Is there any opinions on that?
I think we
Actually,
may be able to get rid of Tailscale.
Okay.
I did get some information on how it was set up from the person who set it up, which was not Joey.
Okay.
I think Joey kind of guided it, but
okay.
My colleague Anton is the one who actually did the setup. So I got some information from him that we can discuss and dig into this. But yeah, I think if we can shut it down and make sure that IPsec tunnels to AWS are working fine, then we can probably just pull it out.
Yeah, that would be great, actually. So unless there's like a hard reason from anybody else here to use Tailscale, I mean, I don't have anything against Tailscale, it's just complicating the thing at the moment. We can still come back to that later if we need it. But for now, going with the IPsec tunnels might be the easier way forward if we want to get pipelines running soon, I guess. Okay, so this is really the outstanding part here. So we need this part, we need to configure this IPsec tunnel. So maybe Eric and I can like find a date where we can look at the same screens again. And then that worked well last time, I think. So then we can configure this, test this, and then we could also check this part. The configuration, as said, is documented all those things, accessible to stakeholders. I hope the stakeholders have access to this. I don't know who the stakeholders exactly are, but I assume that's the TST here. So you should have access to this.
Yeah, I checked. I have access actually. So I guess the other TST members also probably have the access.
Cool. Okay, cool. So then the outstanding thing here before we can close this part would be testing that the CI/CD tools use the IPsec tunnels and we can start running pipelines again. Obviously, they'll still fail, but we can at least like check that the Jenkins server can connect to the Jenkins workers and clone repos and install stuff and things alike. So I think that should like confirm this connectivity itself. Are there questions to this milestone? Cool.
Not specifically about this
yeah.
milestone, but you had also an item, action item from the previous meeting about hosting the netbox in an LF server. So is it
that's another thing. It's not really, so it's not really related to any of the milestones. It's more like a general documentation thing, obviously. You're right. So Eric and I have been working on that. We created a ticket, we're discussing that. So we need to find a slot where we can take a look together at where we can host that.
Okay, thank you.
So at the moment, it's still running on BISDN infrastructure. So we're updating that. We're documenting everything that we're doing in it. And once Eric and I find time to move it somewhere to Linux Foundation host, we can just like database dump it and then move it over, and then that would be done as well.
Okay, thank you. May I ask the other testing members to check this page and links you just have shown, and check if they can access later. If they see any problem, they inform Eric and you.
Yeah, and as said, like the upstream documents from Netgate, for example, those are obviously accessible to everybody. Everything that has this Berlin lab lfbroadband.org is only accessible after you're connected to the VPN, so that will only be accessible to technical stuff, which I guess should make sense because these are really critical or security critical information, right? So not everybody should be able to open the configuration of our firewall. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no more questions from me about this milestone. Did we lose yet again? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, seems that we lost him.
Hello again. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
I
I
don't
can.
know. People decided that this is the day to work on the internet here. I'm very sorry for that. So where was I? Yeah, I can't like share the slides here on my phone. So basically, we configured this Metal as a Service project to provide DNS, DHCP, and all those things. The domain, this berlin-lab.elfbroadband.org, is something that we chose for now. We can choose another like domain name, but one of the big things that we wanted to do here is stop working with a lot of IP addresses and give things names, because that makes a lot of the configuration a lot easier and a lot more maintainable. If anybody has any opinions on a different domain, please just let us know. Ideally, rather sooner than later, because the more we configure there, the harder it will get to change the domain. But we thought berlin-lab.elfbroadband.org should be fine. Yeah.
Jan, are you sharing something or?
No, I can't. I can't share
Okay.
stuff on my phone, sadly.
Got
So
it.
yeah, I'm sorry for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we install all this stuff. We documented all the things, same pages shown before, one of the other pages under this community lab in Confluence. So from our side, all of the acceptance criteria for this are done. It would be important to review the things, the documents there. So
Yes. On
yeah.
that, I have a question, perhaps opinion of you and
Yeah.
other TST members and Jan probably, sorry, Eric probably. So during, going through these documents, we will, as you said, we won't be accessing some of the links that, you mentioned. So we don't have access to that. So I know that Linux Foundation have strict, policies about other people, even the TST members, to access this kind of information. So now the question goes to Eric, I guess. So can we get a temporary access or to access these documents and check the content, etc.? Or, how can we do that?
On the wiki, the community lab info?
Yeah, there are some links that, Jan mentioned that, only the people that can have the permission can access and open these links. So,
yeah, that link you just sent me, Eric, I can't get to it personally.
Yeah, so I think we don't have access currently to open this page and, check them. So my question is, how we can access these links.
So right now it does have limited access, which was requested. If we want to open up access, I'm not sure how open we can be. Is there any like security information that's on there? I'm not familiar with all the contents right now. So
maybe to clear things up a bit in terms of what is where. So on this Confluence thing, I don't think there is like super security critical information. There is IP addresses and like tunnel endpoint IP addresses and stuff. So it might be a good idea to not open it up to the general public, but I don't think it's an issue to open it up to the TST members here, unless we expect evil hackers to be in there, but I don't think so. So I think that should be fine. The other part is, like I said, some of the links for the configuration, for example, are direct links to the correct configuration pages on the firewall. I don't think those are very useful to look at for TST members. they're only there to provide the right links in case any of the technical stuff from the Linux Foundation, for example, wants to change the configuration of the firewall or change the configuration for the OpenVPN or stuff like that. I think it should be fine to only grant access to the technical stuff of the Linux Foundation and not to everybody else. Because I don't see what the advantage of giving access to everybody else would be here.
Yeah, the problem here is mostly, from, I think, Linux Foundation's policies mostly. These policies also, don't allow you to access to the AWS, so same policies may apply for TST as well.
No, I mean, just in terms of this wiki page, it is just limited to whoever is put on the list. So I've gone through and added all the TST members that have accounts. It looks like some folks haven't logged into the wiki yet, since it was moved to the Atlassian cloud.
Oh, okay. I mean, if you can add TST members, that will be perfect. But
yes, already did.
Let's announce to the TST members to, and log into the wiki, and if they don't have to create accounts, their own accounts. Okay, then next week check if we can have the access to this at this configuration and documentation links in this page.
Yeah. And as I said, like this should be the documentation that provides a general overview of how things are put together. And the target audience for this is the technical stuff that is supposed to maintain and administrate this. So
yeah, this may be the second problem here. Even if we get the grant here to access the documents, I'm not sure if TST members, will understand these documents and decide if they're okay or not. That's also an issue for us.
Yeah, but that's something that I can't really change, right? So I guess like while discussing this whole contractual thing, we cut out all of the documentation work end user facing. So all the stuff that would be documentation for the community. So yeah, what we're left with here is really the minimalistic documentation for technical stuff. So that's the thing that should be reviewed, ideally by technical stuff. So I think like Eric and I could go through that and see if those things are in there, then it's things needed are in there. But yeah, we don't have any work package that is targeting broader documentation for the community or more in-depth one. Okay. So yeah, as I said, like from our side, the things that are done, please like review the documentation. We would consider this work package, this milestone and 1.2 done. Unless there are any specific points that you think are missing from the acceptance criteria, we would be, I don't know, sending out the proper invoices for that soon. Next, yeah.
Yeah, I was asking about the next milestones on your documents.
I can, I don't know, the internet here is back up again, so I can try to share stuff again, but I have no idea how long it will take. Let me see, I'll quickly try to switch.
Okay, if you can't, we can go through them next week.
Switching, give me a second. Hello. Super smooth switching. All right. Can you see my screen again? Can I hear
Yep.
you? Can
Yes,
you
I can.
Yeah,
I can
cool.
see.
Cool. Okay, so we went through this here. This is the stuff that we just talked about. Then there is this 131, which is the owner's controller. There's some good and some bad news. So the good news is we basically went through all of this stuff. We deployed a new virtual machine with Docker on it, with the ONAS on it. So we cleaned up this whole thing, upgraded ONAS. We automated the whole deployment with Ansible. So we're happy to send you the Ansible playbooks in case you ever want to reinstall that. We tested all the things and everything looked fine. We also wrote the documentation. So that's this part here. So that's this aggregation switch, the ONAS controller, the proper rules that we set there, the flow rules. So all of that was fine. And then we looked at this milestone, which is about upgrading this whole thing. So we opened a ticket at EdgeCore because the switch is from EdgeCore for ONL support for the switch. And EdgeCore's response relatively quickly was the switch, the operating system, and OFDPA, everything is completely unsupported. And they're not willing to help us in any way while upgrading that or looking at that. So we went through a bunch of the things that are on the switch and checked if we could at least upgrade some packages. But before doing that, we decided to reboot the switch again. And that was the last thing we ever heard from the switch. So the switch is not coming back anymore. There's no output on the console. There is no output on the management interface. All the lights. So one light of the PDU is still blinking. All the other lights are not blinking anymore. We tried a bunch of things, spent quite a lot of time trying to see if we can bring that back because we already did all of the other configuration to like use it. And yeah, it's not coming back. So this piece of equipment is probably something that is too old and too broken at the moment to be brought back. It's on the desk in the lab there. So if there is anything that we should give a try, I don't know, there's no output, as I said. To continue the work, I talked to some colleagues from DT there, and we found another switch, which is this model, this Dell.
You still there, Ian?
We are here, but Ian is not here, I guess.
Yeah, somebody killed it again. So yeah, we connected that to the ONAS, so that's also working. The issue really here is like how we want to continue. Do we want to like replace this old switch with the new switch? Do we want to like keep this whole ONAS thing as it is? Or because the new switch that we installed there obviously can also do like more simple configuration without ONAS. And I remember that we discussed that at one point. So we would need to discuss here, like, do we want to invest more time into this open flow configuration with a new Dell switch? Is there a new piece of equipment that anybody wants to buy either way? What are the like general opinions here?
To me, it's a basic switching there, so we don't need any more complexity there. So no need to use ONOS. If you have, easier configuration with this new switch, we can keep it, as is. So no need to ONOS in my opinion.
I think the onus was there for the SEBA part, right?
Yes, it is, but currently, in SEBA, we are focused on the other components than configuring the aggregation switch. So no need to keep onus in the equation. So it makes everything more complex.
Okay. So
Okay.
any other opinions here?
So how do you configure it now? Connecting
the
to a
moment we have-
switch from SSH or what?
So this Dell switch, as said, it supports OpenFlow. So at the moment, we have connected it the same way to ONOS as before. There is some issues that we would need to solve because the Dell has a bit of a different idea about OpenFlow than the ONL switch. And we can continue working in this direction, or we could basically, if you want, we can call it a day here, say, okay, so the ONOS migration was done, but we are also at the same point don't want to continue with ONOS because sadly the switch is broken. I don't know. I'm fine either way. So whatever the TST thinks here is a good way forward. We can also drop the whole ONOS thing. So we would still obviously send you the documentation for the OpenFlow part that we did and the corresponding Ansible playbooks. So that if you decide to go back to ONOS, you could do that. But yeah, however you feel, it's fine for me.
As I said, ONOS is not there to test with the SEBA. It's on there to configure the switch. If we have easier way to configure the switch, then we can drop the ONOS. But Serkan, Burak, other TST members, what do you think on that?
I'm agree on that. Yeah, we don't need to keep the ONOS part.
Yeah. So
Okay.
As far as I understand,
sorry.
so DT assigned this new switch to this project, so we can use it. We don't need to find any other switch. This is not a temporary switch, so we can use it. First, is that correct?
So so at the moment, we specifically labeled this switch as like i14y equipment because the whole lab there is called the i14y lab. There is no other purpose for the switch, so as far as I understand, we can keep it for an extended amount of time. I don't know. I can talk to the DT colleagues there and ask again, but I don't think there should be an issue there.
I'm here. Of course, you can use it. Of course, it's dedicated for that usage.
Thank you, Björn. Okay, then if it's as you said, then we can go without ONOS.
Yeah, support that.
Okay.
Okay.
Drop it from creation.
Sounds good. So we would still obviously send you the other stuff for the milestone before. So if you want to use ONOS again, you can then go back to that. And the documentation is again this is basically documenting the current state of the whole thing, so that if anybody wants to come back in 1 or 2 years, you should be able to easily just install everything again and then connect an OpenFlow switch, or even use this Dell switch. So then we would, within this milestone 132, we would then specifically, because the original thing says connected to the ONOS controller, make the ONOS blah, 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 we would instead target this Dell switch, configure the Dell switch in a simple way, like with VLANs and stuff like that, document the process, back up all of those things, and then head that in as the new milestone target, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's basically the work for now. So the outstanding things are mostly in regards to this AWS connectivity. So I think Eric and I can try to find a time here when we can work on that, maybe next couple of days. And then we should be at a state where we can start looking at the pipelines in parallel. Obviously, we need to reinstall a lot of things. So we have written quite a lot of automation now to back up everything. We can, for now we have the backups, but we can obviously put them somewhere. I don't think they're necessarily useful, but we also don't want to lose anything while reinstalling certain parts, right? So we'll back up everything. And then we start reinstalling these community pods, so the Kubernetes clusters, to get them back on the latest version. And then I think there's also this outstanding task of the Radisys OLT that should be installed. I would need to talk to somebody that has more information about this.
Yes, it's supposed to, you know, arrive by the end of this week, I guess. So Björn, do you have an update about this Radisys device?
About the Radisys equipment, which comes from West Coast US to Darmstadt to Berlin. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, that is in Berlin. So it's not in the i14y lab yet. It's still in my lab, but that's just a couple of meters away from it. So I can bring it over tomorrow morning.
Okay, cool. So
Easily.
if you could like put it on Olaf's desk or something, I can pick it up from there and then can put it in the rack.
I will get in touch with Olaf and we will find a good place for it.
Cool.
Okay.
So yeah, then we would be mostly working on that, right? Is there other OLTs that you want us to like specifically target in parallel? Because there is this thing that says reference OLT model and ONU models defined by TST. Should be upgraded and installed. So this is the Radisys OLT, or should we also get in touch with EdgeCore and Zyxel and Atran again about the upgrades? I think Atran is also here, if I saw that correctly. Yeah. So what are the OLTs that we're targeting here?
Well, only the Radisys one. Atran also they can check, you know, their environment.
Yeah, there is a 6320, I think, in the Berlin lab, which can be used and can be brought up again.
Okay, so then I would contact you, Niels, for the Atran, bringing it up again, and for the Radisys, I will talk to Björn and then maybe somebody from Radisys.
Yeah, Abhilash can be contacted. In the previous meeting, he was aware of the, you know, problem. So I think he can, you know, guide you.
Okay, so I'll send out a bunch of emails and we figure out the communication channel, probably Slack, or I really prefer like meetings to talk to each other. It's usually faster. Okay, so that's basically everything from my side. Sorry for all of the interruptions, and I'll try to see if I can not make that happen next week.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan. Then we have 3 minutes. Any other items from anybody? That's cool then. See you next week. Okay.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.